Hi, good evening. Welcome once again to the Gildari Freddie Kassoon Show. We also coming to you live on YouTube. You can get it there on the Guyanese Critic page or TVN Daybreak News on YouTube. Wherever you are, good evening, good morning. It's been Hi, good evening. Welcome once again to the Gildari Freddie Kassoon Show. We also coming to you live on YouTube. You can get it there on the Guyanese Critic page or TVN Daybreak News on YouTube. Wherever you are, good evening, good morning. It's been for the cricket, for the soccer fans. I don't know why I'm saying cricket. There's a tongue twister, Freddie. But whoever it is that really loves soccer today would have brought a lot of tears to your eyes. The story is not about France advancing towards the finals on Sunday. It is, what am I saying? I'm getting all confused. France advancing today towards the final on Sunday. It's going to be a big match. It was about an underdog team all the way from Africa, and how far Morocco was made it along this tournament. Brought a lot of tears. That's the story of the tournament here. Back in Guyana here, there's a big story that is brewing. And it started a few nights back. Mayor Yubraj Narayan made some very big statements. He was arrested today, and I'm going to read to you in a very short while. He's been placed on $100,000 bail along with Shara Duncan, a former deputy mayor of Georgetown, and an official within the Alliance for Change. Tonight, I want to say good night to my co-host Freddie Kassoon. It's just about 11 days before Christmas, and Freddie is looking very festive. He's not going to be doing the introduction tonight, though. I'm just going to hand you over in a very short while to him. Tonight, we have with us a very young man. I think all Guyana knows him. If they don't, at least social media does, because he's very active there. He's been very active on another scene, too. Remember a couple years back, those actions that took place on Regent Street with some, I think, some hammer that came down on some wheels because of parking meter, and that eventually led it to days and weeks of protest before that project was shelved. Lots of actions here. It was one of the few times that you see a lot of heat being lit on the MNCC, Mayor and City Councils of Georgetown. We have with us here somebody who's been in the thick of things, always commenting about the city here. Also, he is part of the civic component of the People's Progressive Party, but that has not stopped him from being very, very aggressive, sometimes in words, but he's always very vocal in the way that he says things. He's also a businessman involved in the telecoms industry. And you would probably hear more about that in a few months as he gets down to things. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome Mr. Don Singh. But before he comes on and we start, because we have a lot of questions and he's willing to answer, and whether he's willing or not, he's going to be in the hot seat. Freddie Kassoon, good night to you, my co-host. Maybe a few words.
Good night, Mr. Singh. Good night. Yes, a few words. The Prime Minister of the UK is East Indian. The Vice President of the United States is half East Indian. I don't support her as the presidential candidate. I prefer a white woman named Elizabeth Warren. I don't support Mr. Rishi Sunak. He's the same ethnicity with me. His parents came from the same country my grandparents came from. I support the Labour Party in the UK that's headed by a white man. That's because race is not an issue for me. I think the Labour Party and its leadership are better than the Conservative leadership. I don't support Kamala Harris because I think one of her contender, Elizabeth Warren, more fits with my ideology for elevation of the working people, etc. So when you spoke about the Morocco and tears, and I didn't support Morocco. In fact, there were more black people that I'm accustomed to that came from the same part of Africa as our African Guyanese in the French team. In fact, the French team that played today was almost 90% of people of origin that the Guyanese African came from in Africa. I don't think Arab countries see themselves as non-white and as third world people. Arab countries and Arab people are very reactionary. I supported those black guys that were playing in France, and the France victory was a victory for immigrants in France and a victory for black immigrants that came from Africa into France. So my issue wasn't third world and ethnicity. My issue is the values people embrace. Before we get into dancing, I live next to the Atlantic Ocean, and tonight I was driving here and I was listening. I had on the car stereo one of my favorite singers, the Italian tenor Andrea Bocelli, and I was listening to a favorite Italian song called Mi Manchi, and the breeze in my hair, Leonard, it was a sublime feeling. And 90% of the cars that drove by me had the AC on. Driving next to the Atlantic Ocean with the breeze in your hair. We talked about that before, but it was a nice feeling listening to that kind of music and the breeze penetrating my hair. Now, my first question to Mr. Singh. I always found it interesting. I always wanted to meet you to ask you this question. But before I ask you the question, I want to welcome you as a civil rights person in Guyana, because the more we talk about civil rights, the more confusing it gets. Because people are saying there's no independent civil rights organization. Some support the government, some support the PNC, and civil rights groups are supposed to be neutral, objective. So I'm going to ask you some questions as a civil rights activist, because I think I've known you to be that. The movement against parking meters was a civil rights organization. But the curiosity of mine, I know Guyana is a cultural neighbor to the United States, not geographic. And Guyana and the United States are very close in terms of people going back and forth. Why did you start a baseball club in Guyana? Who would play baseball in Guyana? And who wants to play baseball in Guyana?
Right. So my brother was. Sorry. Thanks for having me, Freddie and
Yes.
Leonard. First of all, Leonard, is this being recorded?
Yes, it's
Because I know you like to record stuff.
I know. Go right ahead.
In the past,
absolutely after hot time.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
So baseball is a universal sport. I mean, it's primarily played in the US of A. It's played well in Japan, Hong Kong, Australasia, all over the world. So we had a look at it, and we, some coaches and stuff came down, and it's like, well, the natural physique of our ancestors that had passed down to us were well suited to baseball, and we decided to have a look at it, and it's been going and it's been working, and there's small pockets and groups and kids that play baseball. It's about changing your horizons. If you do one thing all the time, you're not gonna go very far. I mean, or you'll get stuck in a rut. Not so.
Or it's the Guyanese mentality of copying from the US, which is natural. We are neighbor to the US.
I think you're dividing the poor US, because we copy from everyone. I mean, you listen to the music on the radio. I mean, the Jamaican dance hall and the
Well, that's part of our families, not so.
Well,
the Caribbean, we have came here as indentured and stay. But anyway, I was just curious of why a baseball club. But hats off to you. I
well,
hope
it's adventures. I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained, and it's gained some traction. And we do have a lot of youngsters playing baseball.
Okay, yeah. So my first question to you.
That was your first question. Okay.
No, that's a curiosity.
Oh, that's a curiosity. Very well.
My first question is, do you know a gentleman by the name of Timothy Bagwandin?
Yes, I know Timothy.
He said he spoke to you last night.
Oh yes, he said. Oh, that's the AFC activist guy, right?
I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is. He just called my cell.
Right.
Now, when we have these programs on, it's advertised the day before, so people would call their 999 and say, "You have John Jones on. Could you ask him about that incident with the farmers in 2012?"
Right.
So I got this call from this guy named Timothy Bagwandin.
Right. The AFC guy.
I don't know he was in there. I don't know him.
Yeah. He's one of them who's dragged the coffin around waiting to go get buried. But anyway.
Anyway, he said he's your good friend.
Yeah.
And he spoke to you
I
last night.
speak with everybody.
He said that
a political party.
he said to ask you, you used to say you're a man of the people, but he don't think
I
you're a
used to
man
say-
of the people. Yes. is what
I
he
never
told me.
said I was a man of the people. He perhaps might have called me that. But go ahead.
But that he said to
Right.
Mr. Kisoon, please ask him. If he used to say he's a man of the people, is he still a man of the people? That's your friend, you know him, so
Right,
after
right.
the program you can ask him. And it's my obligation to convey what viewers tell us.
So your question is if I'm still a
He
man
said,
of the people?
he said no, he don't think you're still a man of the people.
So he had to realize then. So he asked the question, he answered it. Is that what you're saying? So that you're asking me to refute his answer?
No, I'm just telling you.
Or you want my opinion on his?
he wants to know your answer to that.
Right. I've never considered a man of the people. I just do what I think is right. I see plights. I see people in trouble. I see situations that perhaps are not being addressed, and I respond to it. I don't know if you know, my father was...
I know your father, I know the book he wrote,
Right.
Democracy Betrayed.
Right,
I know his role in the 40s and 50s. Yeah.
You I hope you didn't know him.
I didn't know. No,
Well,
no.
because you're gonna come and reveal a secret that he told you when
Yes,
the
yes,
man dead.
yes, I
You
spoke
got a
to-
penchant for revealing secrets.
No.
Oh, Freddie, why you do that? Why do you hint at revealing secrets and say Leonard no, Dan no, John Joe, Harry no,
I'll tell
and
you.
then you don't tell the secret.
tell
You
you
hint at it, and then you say, well, I can't reveal names and I can't. So what you telling me? You're not telling people a secret.
You want me to tell you why?
Please
Well,
do.
look, if you've been interviewed,
No,
will you tell you?
Yeah.
This, I remember long years ago,
Be brief, please.
the present vice president said this is a very litigious society. People sue you for the truth, the facts.
So-
I have got 13 libel in my lifetime. 1 from Starbrook, 12 from Kaito News. The Starbrook the Starbrook lawyer, Mr. Miles Fitzpatrick, said, my job is to represent my papers. You have to find a lawyer. I've got 12 libels from
Don't let me digress for too long. We got limited time. I
the
understand
point
where
is,
you're coming from.
I am not going to say those things. And
But so why
don't have the money like Don Singh to
You
get
have
lawyers.
it's
The man didn't
clickbait
ask you
then.
that.
What he
the
asked
man
you?
says, why do you do certain things?
It's
You give
clickbait.
half, you give half, you talk half, and you let
Yeah, but
You know, this
he
is
doesn't know my
these
private life. Other people
magnificent
come and ask me.
headline on your- on
No,
your-
but when I leave here, when I write in the papers, I have rendezvous with people. And I tell them what they want to
So
know.
your headline
I can't
will
say
say,
in public.
your headline will say, today I will reveal what I've never revealed before. Da 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 da. And then you waste 4 minutes or 5 minutes of your life reading, and then there's nothing. And you're like,
No.
Damn it! I want my 5 minutes.
I can't say those things publicly.
Well,
When we go
don't intimate that you can then.
No,
Don't says and Leonard knows and Don knows and John was there.
No,
So now I'm gonna pick up the phone and call Leonard, Don, and John.
yeah, and so the knowledge could be shared, but it's not coming
so
from
why
me.
you have a clickbait?
I'm not getting a libel. It's not coming from me.
All right, then that's just...
I am not a
It's a bit
religious-
duplicitous, if you ask me. A bit fraudulent, even.
No.
It's
It's a method. You could call it that. It's a methodology.
Don, thank you very much. And I would say something along the lines of when Freddie do that. Some people would call me and say, you're in Freddie Kisoon thing. You know this? I got a call from a senior government official this week. Said, Freddie wrote about you. What do you know about this? I said, I don't know anything. I had a conversation with Freddie, full stop.
You set the people up.
Yeah, but come back to that. Don, we have a country at the crossroads right now. We have oil and gas. But I want to come back to two things. There was an issue, well, not an issue, it's a big problem that our country got. And every time I see stories, it looks as if it just keep repeating itself. A young man and a young girl, all alive ahead of her, they died yesterday. And we've seen the story that is coming out so far as the guy or shot her and then killed himself. But we seem not to be, we haven't been able to solve that issue. Is it a problem that that is there's an absence in our society of professional help? Is it a problem?
Man's a psychologist.
No. I want to know
a few things.
Right. So maybe from your side of things, how do you view it? Do we have a problem with our men folk in this country?
We have a huge
and
problem.
we assuming, of course, it is his fault.
Right. Well, according to the police report or the initial police report, it is his fault. We have a huge problem. Men can't speak. They have no one to speak to. They can't lay down their grief or their emotions in a raw fashion to anyone. They just can't. I come and says, Leonard, boy, this girl give me blow, this red one, his problems. You then go and tell Freddie, and then Freddie comes laughing me, and then I'm humiliated. I mean, it's that's just one thing. I mean, so these things are pent up and built up inside, and after a while it explodes because they have no outlets. I mean, Guyana on the whole is a chauvinistic society. We don't, we're now emerging from a different sphere, but the 80s, 90s, and the early zeros, it's a chauvinistic society where men dominate, and if men don't get their way, it's their form of is violent aggression. I mean, you can't tell a man to go to counseling. I mean, there's so many influences and things I don't even cover on any topic. I mean, look at the musical influence that we get. I mean, with the dance hall and stuff, bend you over and do this X, Y, and Z, and that empowers a man. Well, yeah,
X, Y, and Z. That's X, Y, and Z.
Z.
I noticed.
Tomato, potato. It's like one of you click the secret review. Brian's kidney.
But do we, Freddie? I want to quickly ask you that, because are you concerned? Have you thought about what seems to be the problem with the society? We've seen it happen too often. How do we deal with it? I don't know. I would like for these topics to be put on the table.
I think this whole society has broken down a long time ago, and that sociological problem between a man and a woman, I don't see it in the macro way as you may see it. I think there are more deleterious, dangerous trends in this country that makes it frightening. I reported on this station that I saw the traffic chief went to Banks DIH for a traffic violation. 2 cars, the traffic chief come out with a senior, and Banks DIH management just refused to come out and meet him. And when he was gone, he went there to talk about they taking up public parapet and putting cones in it. When they left, Banks DIH removed the cones and put concrete, put Jove piles, no parking sign piles, where the cones were. You could have removed the cones. Now, that is what I think is more symptomatic of a breakdown in society than man and woman and the breakdown in marriage that ends in fertilities. You have so much of that all over the world. I am not saying it's not something to be discussed, but a pattern of that doesn't lead to the kind of destruction we see with what. Let me give you an example. Look, this is my judgment. The government makes regulation that sand trucks cannot be on the public roadways after 6 a.m. So they have to come, load the thing, drop it off at the construction site. The same restriction apply to container trucks. Tomorrow is a working day, Leonard. Go and you will see no sand truck after 6, but you will see container trucks. You know why? When the police stop those container trucks, a call is made to a multi-billionaire or a multi-billionaire firm, and the traffic chief is put in his place. That, to my mind, leads to a greater damage to society than concentrating on a man and a woman and men chauvinism.
Domestic violence is out of control in this country. Men are killing women daily, and you compare it to sand trucks and
that to my mind is more dangerous.
Lives are very important, my friend.
Sand truck, container trucks have killed people on the road in the same numbers as domestic
Well, let me
violence.
tell you this. I don't have
Well,
to
one
wait
might be
until-
accidental and one might be malicious.
I don't have to wait until dawn, but I believe the Atlantic breeze that you just had there probably went to your eye or something.
Well, no,
But
no,
I
no,
understand that.
no, no,
I don't understand how we digress.
Hear what I'm
I don't-
telling
I
you.
don't understand
what you're saying, that that's more important.
I am telling you with pellucid intensity. I believe class domination of this society and people with power and money getting away with depravities. I am saying that's my position. It's far more important for the future of Guyana
Freddie.
than domestic violence. That's my position.
You want to do the linkage for them?
No, if you choose domestic violence, so and so.
It's one of the many, but you cannot
But
say
one of the
that.
many-
Exactly. No,
No,
all right.
well, I have to prioritize which elements in Guyana are more dangerous in order. If you see that as domestic violence, then fine. I see class divisions and class structure and how they are arranging a country as more harmful to the future of a country than domestic violence. Now you were telling me about breeze in Atlantic because I take that position? Because maybe you
You
have
have made it frivolous, and I'm a little amazed.
Yeah,
because
I am
you
not.
want-
No, no, no.
some-
I haven't made it frivolous. You asked me to prioritize my
did that.
priorities,
I just-
and I did that. You asked me to
my
comment in it.
Freddie,
and
you
I
say
did that.
you got one child and she's a female. If somebody was to hit her, what happens?
You want me to answer that?
Yes, that's why I asked you the question.
You want me to answer?
Freddie Kissoon
Yeah,
goes
Right,
batshit
you right?
crazy and attacks people.
I think there are people that would hit my daughter, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will happen to them. That for me,
You as a
is
father, I meant.
that for me is the danger in society. I believe there are people that would hit my daughter, and the next day they would be arrested. I believe there are other people that would hit my daughter, and when my daughter talk about it and I talk about it, our lives would be in danger. I've answered the question.
Wow.
And I hope you see the class meaning of my answer.
Well, you've digressed a long way from where we started, but okay.
Interesting. That might be the only show, ladies and gentlemen, where the guest and one of the hosts is going to jump right down the throat of one of the co-hosts. But that being the case, let's go to Mayor Ubraj.
Right.
Mayor Ubraj said a number of things. One, is this a Muslim state? I believe, me as a pandit, and the Indian people, the people who are Hindu are being sidelined, and this is becoming. And then he also says these poor people here are being targeted. Your thoughts on he is not an ordinary figure. He is a representative. He's a chief citizen of Georgetown. How do you relate that to public figures in Guyana? Because I want to draw the line. I saw in America and around in places which are modern, that even having a mistress in the past, even a payoff in the past could make you lose your job, or it could really affect your elections. These are things.
Not anymore in the US.
Right.
No,
So,
but
not
around
anymore in the
in
US.
some societies, but people pay attention because a track record would lead there. But he's not an ordinary citizen.
Chief citizen, yeah.
I have a couple of questions.
Right.
One, is there any justifications that would cause the mayor to do something like that and would lead to his arrest today? Is there anything that society should be worried about at the moment in your thoughts?
Right, so I'll answer the second question first. Society should be very, very worried. let me tell you something. I mean, as Freddie often writes about, is the story of Rwanda. Hate speech is not a one-off thing. Leonard, your eye too small. No. I mean, you have the General Secretary of the AFC. He has a couple of shows and he always starts off trench capos and jagabats and so now that has become the norm. So the Indo-PPP people are seen as jagabats and trench capos. I don't understand that jagabats thing because it's a Trinidadian term meaning a loose woman, but I don't get it. But we'll go back. So then the Aubrey says apartheid state, and he repeats it after enough, and then it's heard, and then it becomes the norm. So now up pops the chief citizen, Mr. Mayor Ubraj and Ryan, and with more divisive nonsense says, well, we have a Muslim president, and we can become an Islamic state, and I'm a Hindu. Is that going to become a norm as well? I mean, this is a creeper. Hate and how his effects is a creep, and it creeps and it creeps and it creeps. So we as a society, as Guyanese, I mean, we are on the cusp of exploding, of being a first world country. But if we if we start hating each other and you just putting that hate in such a nasty manner, and it comes from all sides. I mean, I hate to say this, and I mean, you can say I'm a civic member of the PUP. It seems that all the PNC can do is create confusion and road. This afternoon they're shouting, "Shut down the city." Now, who shut down the city serves and benefits who and for what? There are political ways that you can impose. Mm-hmm. And that also bothers me, because opposition in this country is just non-existent. And in good democracies and strong democracies, you need strong opposition to keep the government in check.
It is a requirement.
It is an absolute requirement.
You will vote it in
this nonsense we have here is not serving this country well at all.
Freddie, your thoughts on that? Well, you got some rhymes?
I can't see how anyone. I think he's in hot water. I can't see how he will get out of that. People do things in a moment of madness, but there's a hypocritical dimension to the Mayor's Act. The last people that should talk about moving vendors is the PNC party in government, both municipal and central. Do you know what David Granger, including the WPA leaders in government,
2015 they turn up and
they wanted to move to celebrate the Golden Jubilee. They wanted to clear out the whole of Starbucks Square of those vendors.
Remember Dread Shop?
Just for the other thing to note about the mayor's output is that he may be using the context of his party. The people like the PNC have been subtly preaching and overtly preaching ways. Now, when you go to tell a nation we are approaching an apartheid state, I am telling you that is an incitement.
Yeah, that's incitement.
Then you have Takuma Ogunse of the WPA. That man wrote a letter in which he says, I will support violence against the government.
Let's go back to Brad for a second. So, you know, the PNC basically, well, the PNC has been in charge of the Mayor City Council since independence. And 50-something years later, here we are. I mean, it's not like there's a gap and then the PP controlled or a smaller party controlled. The PNC has always been in control of the MCC. And it's just been, for the last 20 to 25 years, a case of utter mismanagement. Money's coming in and disappearing. I remember when the, I think it was the Koreans or the Japanese had given Hami money to do the clock. I got memory like that, and the money just disappeared, poof, magically. But where we find ourselves in a situation now is that they're saying, well, it's not us, it's the PPP, because they're not giving us more money, or they're not giving us subventions. Well, you know, I gotta control my language. It's ridiculous. You are not audited your books in the last 15, 20 years. Monies have magically vanished. You owe NIS 8 billion, you owe GPL another 10 billion. All kinds of fantastic sums are owed. But then you're crying. The place is an absolute mess, chaos, garbage. I mean, he said, well, the roads are ours. You can't move vendors from there. The roads are ours. Buddy, when last you pick up a sweetie paper from the road? When last have you tarred a road? So, I mean, the central government actually has to step in, and you can't support illegality of encumbering these roads by the fact that, well, legally suppose, well, these roads are under our purview. It's ridiculous. We're heading to some maniacal state in City Hall. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And now we have Lord Farquaad here, Mr. Narayan, just lording it over and seemingly unbothered.
I have said it in this program, and I'm saying it again. I've said it in my column. Georgetowns have to be pragmatic. if they are not pragmatic next year when you have the local government elections, this city is just going to sink and sink. The central government has the funds. Why are you going to vote for an opposition party that doesn't have the... I am voting for the PPP in the next local government election for practical reasons.
Yep.
You have an oil economy, you have a central government, and you have the ruling parties, people that are controlling the city council. By logic and by obligation, they have to perform, and they will get the money to perform. Now, people would say, once you vote in the PPP, they can use the money to elevate the city, and the PNC vanishes.
Are you suggesting that because the PPP is in government that there should be a PPP leadership of the...
Yes, for practical purposes. If you have
I agree with you.
Wait. Seriously, what you see wrong with that?
People got a right to vote whoever they want, and the government has an obligation.
Who objecting to that?
I have an issue with that.
Yeah, but you can't keep giving your money.
You have an issue.
No. I'm not saying PNC or whoever it is. But if the people of Georgetown, I'm not talking about Georgetown alone, across this country or any part of this world, the people got a right to vote in. I understand the practicality, but not because the government is in place, it should have, like the government is doing.
A vote is a sacred thing that must be backed by self-preservation, must be backed by self-preservation. An immigrant the immigrant from Africa in Italy, right, that see other immigrants being mistreated, is not going to vote for a politician that wants to stop immigration from Africa. What is the point? The point is, you live in a city that is dirty. You live in a city where a ruling party in the council cannot deliver for 70 years. So you have another party that controls the central government. And that party says, vote for me. I am going to clean up the city. I am going to make the environment clean. Your party that you're voting for cannot elevate the city. Now, if a voter cannot appeal to that rationality, then you're saying people have a right to vote, but they have a right to take that vote and throw it away insensibly? Is that what you're saying? The right to vote is too
I'm not saying that.
Tell us what you're saying. Explain to Mr. Singh what you're saying.
You
take yourself out.
All I'm just saying is right. I take your point, and I take Don's point as well, which is for all practicality that you vote.
But that is why people vote.
No. I understand that, but I'm saying also, by the same thought, because I believe we in a democratic society and we have a democratic government, it doesn't matter whether it's PPP or PNC in there or AFC after. If there's Georgetown is there and you want to choose whoever it is, what you Ryan is saying, it could be symptomatic to what would have transpired over the last 50 years, which is whoever government is in there, and if the city council administrators is different from the party that is in government, we ain't gonna do it. We have seen that. We know that.
No.
So I understand what you're saying.
No, but you're confusing two things. People have a right to vote, but individuals like Don Singh, you, me, academics, youths, we have a right to also tell people to use your vote sensibly.
Yeah,
that's all. So what is wrong with me telling people of Georgetown, look man, be pragmatic and vote sensibly?
I understand that, but I'm not saying let us learn that because a government is in place to make it. I hope that's not what you're saying. Because
what do you think I'm saying? I am saying to Georgetowners, we have an oil economy.
That's what you're saying?
Huh?
That's what you're saying?
I am saying vote for the people.
You really got to put you on this payroll.
I'm saying vote for the people. Listen, this man is telling me that I cannot tell Georgetowners.
I cannot say that.
But you're asking me what I'm saying. I am saying vote for the PPP because that is your self-preservation. No, what is intrinsically wrong with that? Please, Mr. Singh, could you please If you see nothing wrong with him, could you please explain?
You're right. Don't be me.
It's not, you know, but you know what he finds nerve-wracking is somebody, a host or an academic saying, vote for the
I think what Leonard is saying, the franchise and the value of your vote, you know, you can't tell people. Let people choose whatever.
No, I'm not saying that.
What are you saying?
I'm just saying whichever administrator goes on there. I'm not talking about votes here. I think the government, I'm just saying that the government of the day has an obligation, because Joe Bradwine is arguing a fundamental point, which we've seen it. Look, the one thing that I agree, I don't agree with anything that he said, except that the fact that the government of the day is not talking to the MLCC, and we've seen that consistently over the years, except, well, we know that the PNC has been there, but there's always been the accusation that the government is not agreeing or not cooperating with and the PPP government. I'm saying, why do we wait until the city rots before we fix it? This is all I'm saying. But it cannot be, for me, it cannot be, I find it unacceptable that you would say to me that because the PNC isn't there, or the PNC, Georgetown is largely PNC, and a PNC administrator goes into place, or the people decide to choose that's not something we should accept, that we should tell them that because, well, I understand what
you know what I'm saying, and let's move on.
Let's move on.
I am saying,
not again, Freddie. Let's move on.
I am saying,
oh, no.
For practical purposes, Georgetown people should vote for a source, for an organization that is more endowed with resources to help the city.
Practically. Practical.
If they want to vote for race and they want to vote for party, people should exercise their right to vote how they want to.
But for practical reasons.
But for practical reasons.
All right. What are some of the solutions that you would say for Georgetown that we need to move on right away? You've been talking about the city here. I saw a video and a photograph posted on social media within the last 2 days on the East Coast Road, on the East Coast Road, Freddie, on one carriageway, half of the carriageway somebody chose sand. You know the East Coast Road there, and one carriageway, half of it is gone. One lane is gone because somebody chose sand on it. Georgetown, we've seen it, the problems. What do we do to solve some of the problems? Because on one hand, people are saying, well, the people got to make a living. On the other hand, people ain't got no place to park. Everybody that wants to drop a tent or a little burger stand is allowed that.
Right. So 90% of the problems in not necessarily Georgetown alone in Guyana is enforcement. Speeding, crashes is enforcement. Littering is enforcement. I mean, you can have $100,000 fine for throwing a bottle. If the person arresting you will take $5,000, turn the other way, well then it's like you have no law. In terms of vendors, sure, everybody has a right to live, but you don't have a right to encumber my life as well. I mean, I have rights as well. I mean, this whole thing with the New Market Street and Ubraj, and this man threw himself behind the back wheel of a vehicle, which I don't understand up to now. You know, if you're doing martyrdom and you throw yourself in front of the vehicle, the driver could see you and stop. This dude threw himself behind the back wheel. I mean, the handbrake go up, he done. Anyways, so he controls a little parking lot in East Street there. He could easily say as well, hey, be magnanimous and be political about it. Says, well, look at those wicked people that want to move you. Let me put you in this park that I control. You're 100 yards away from the hospital, and you will still be able to make a living. But he's led by all these people who linked arms with him. When you see Darren Reid and Simone Brooms and them show up, it's no good. It's never good, brother. These people have one way about it, a dogma that is the benchmark of this party for 50-something, 100, whichever years they've been in existence.
But people have to educate African Guyanese.
It's not about African.
Simone Brooms was a minister for 5 years. Why Simone Brooms? You know, there was something. No,
don't let me digress. So I was saying. So I mean, at some point we have to have change. We have to have improvements of where we go. border market. I mean, rainfall just a slushy damn mess. Break the whole damn thing down. Go 3 stories up. Go across the road onto the mall. Have you have a clothing section. You have a food section. You have haberdashery. Groceries. So vendors now have a place, cheap and sweet, and it's a centralized.
Kitty Market.
I've been there a few times.
I think Kitty Market has been built by MNCC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kitty Market is not fully completed, as I say.
No, but you see what?
So you want to put a management of the...
Could we?
Well, there you go again. So
hold on.
The government will have to step in and do that.
It seems that we have Mr. Singh here, who has no connection to the Georgian municipality.
Well, no.
I've been badgering him with municipal questions.
No.
I want to ask him other things anyway.
No, ask me anything.
But just one word before we move on.
But I do have a lot of ideas how we can get
He's
past
made a
these
very
things.
fundamental point. Across from where Georgetown Hospital is, that parking area there. We're talking solutions in this country. Solutions, right? Don could pick it up. But how come the managers of the city could not have picked it up that, look, the people can't be in front of the entrance there, or you cannot be on the street there. Let's put them there, make some money.
Because they want to make it political.
But why don't we find solutions? But it's you could pick it up, but they can't pick it up.
Right.
But there's a point you made that Don has to elaborate on. The city council has been saying for years now, and if what they're saying is true, it is wrong or not. If the central government owes the city council a few $1 billion, they have to pay the people the money, man. You have to pay city council if you owe them. And the mayor and his deputy were here, and they did say that central government has a large outstanding bill for them.
Well,
ministers,
what they do is they trade off the bills. So if the city owes GPL 5 billion and the government owes city all 5 billion, what they do is usually just cancel the bills and consider themselves paid. And as we just alluded to, are you going to put large cash sums in the hands of people who have proven time and time again that they can't run a sweetie stand? That's a recipe for disaster. Then the taxpayer can come and say, so why did you do that? I'm not going to give you my vote because you just give away my money. So it's a quid pro quo.
But so you had raised this issue a couple of weeks or a couple of months back. The city has not been doing well. There's an understatement. The city has done a criminal job of not collecting taxes from the people
Absolutely.
here. So you have almost...
No, that's not true. He was saying that they are not paying. He said 50% of the big buildings in this country.
Whose fault is that? The business fault or their fault?
There is a law that in which the city council cannot move against it. I think it's called a Parade, P-A-R-A-T, Parade law that was passed during the presidency of Desmond Hoyt. So if one of those 5-story buildings do not pay taxes for 10, 15 years, the city council cannot do anything about it. One of the things that the city council could do is not to give you compliance if you're selling the building. But a lot of those large buildings will be sold.
Here now. If you have lawyers that will go and argue that 33 is 34, otherwise you could find a way to go to take it to court and get your damn taxes. Trust me on this. But it's, as it says, the will. So
it's a will. It has a will.
It's just the will to do it. People are happy with mediocrity. It has become the norm.
If the main city council go to the government and say, look, we have a problem. I'm not asking you for any more. Freddie, listen to this.
You're bringing this municipal thing in.
No. I just don't know where you go.
I want to ask you
this is an important thing. The city is
I know it's important, but you spend half an hour on it.
I want to go.
Go on.
If it would not be unreasonable if the MNCC asks the government, look, we need help in this direction. We're not getting the people to pay. We have $60 million or $60 billion outstanding here. And if we get this money, we'll never ask you for money again.
Right.
But we need legally some solutions how we deal with this. Are they asking those kind of questions? I don't know.
No, they're not.
But that's the whole, it's the solutions back again.
Solutions, exactly. And it's not solution based. That is the problem. We just keep stumbling along and pointing fingers. Mediocrity. And nothing gets done.
We accept that as citizens, right?
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I was protesting and the place was stink.
Well,
stink.
I have something on the municipality thing, but this guy is here to explain holistically what's going on in Guyana. So you took up a lot of time with the municipality. Mr. Singh, you generally known, well, let's say you're known to me as a civil society activist. One of the controversies that is acidic in this society is what is a civil society organization, because the way we see certain civil society organizations operating is that you could only be deemed a civil society organization if you're anti-government. And civil society groups in this country are very insulting and very contemptuous of a civil society body that has played continuously a priceless role in safeguarding democracy. The Private Sector Commission, which in 1997 saved this country,
sure,
which in 2020 saved this country. But when you read the Starbuck editorials, when you go to these civil society groups like Guyana Human Rights Organization, they dismiss the private sector as a civil society group. What is going on with civil society organizations?
Civil society is basically dead, sadly, because the non-partisan actors have moved on to partisan positions, myself included somewhat. But my heart remains with the people and civil society and movements.
Well, man of the people, that's the activity.
I don't know. These AFC zombie people, I don't trust what they're saying.
Your man is your friend.
He's my friend. I'm friends with everybody. I mean, not a problem.
What he spoke to you with last night? He said he spoke to you last night.
Well, it was his birthday and he maybe was a little inebriated and people. It's one of them things. He promised he would call you. I said, you can ask me any question, I'll answer it. But back to being, civil society is dead. I mean, as you says, the human rights and the red thread and ones perhaps who were unbiased and steadfast in the past, I mean, are now just so absolutely partisan and anti-government, and you only get a word or utterance out of them when there's a hoopla or some scandal or something. They'll pop out and we the undersigned. I mean, it's hard because and what's not happening is that younger folk are not civil or civic minded. And because civic and civil minded, you take blows from both sides. You take licks from everybody, taps in there, you don't get paid a dime, and it's only blows. So it's a hard thing to draw people to and says, well, look, your country's at stake. You know, just have a look at this, have a look at that. I mean, even my own daughter, she sees me, you know, with this activism and this and that, and she's like, maybe in a few years. No. I mean, because it's just not in it. And I mean, where do you find the love of country from? That's where it starts. That's where the ultimate, not love of party, not love of wife, not love of one race, the other. It starts with love of country. Would you agree with me?
Yes, of course.
Right. So where do we foster this? With all these influences that we're faced with now, as you said, we copy America, we take music from Jamaica. You know, now we got visa free to England. I mean, soon we'll be having a print then, lad. You know how it is. So where do we develop these civic and civil activists at the ages of 18, 19, 20, and that's where it starts. And that's as when it grows and you go into your 30s and 40s, and maybe you get into political life later than that. But younger people are just not interested because they see so much chaos out there. They see people attacking each other. Use a hungry belly, use a trench crapper, use a dog, use a rat, use a cat, and they're disgusted with it. It's like, yeah, that stuff ain't for me, you know. You older folk who have dominated this country, like we can just stay back and stay in our lanes and do what we got to do, and it's hard to change that.
But do you think I come from a glorious period of the 70s where people like WPA, the Guyana Human Rights Association, Red Thread, had taken very, very philosophically principled position? Sadly, the decline.
Well, the world has moved on from that period. The world has moved on. The information reaches us so much faster now.
Yeah.
So much faster. I mean, you remember you had to go to do a research in the library to do a paper and you spend 2 days and the photocopy ain't working. I can tell you the population of Alaska in about 3 seconds now.
Yeah.
You know? So what we input now is a lot faster, and kids at 7 or 8 years old are 10 years ahead of us. When we were 7, 8 years old in this, well, you're about 90 years, and me and all
100.
100. So when you were 7 or 8, you had a limited capacity and learning because you were getting limited input. These kids are 7 or 8, they got the smartphone, and they're playing Cocomelon, they're creating graphic artists, they could tap into NASA. So their minds are developed a lot younger, is what I'm saying.
But I feel we've entered the stage of social media in this country.
Oh, long time ago.
And social media is being used by opposition and their surrogates to peddle some of the most obnoxiously dangerous thing to say, that Guyana is an emerging apartheid state, when historically Indians have been the most oppressed. Look, I named Frederick. I could never have given my daughter any other name except a Hindu name. That's, my parents were Hindus, my mother was to see that what is happening with Indians historically. And in September 2020, out of vendetta for losing the election, in Cotton Tree, Indians were beaten. Then a policeman shoot a guy in Golden Grove. They are marching down, Indians were beaten. And you are going to tell me there was an emerging apartheid state? Why aren't we reached a stage where those things could affect young minds? I hope not.
If you permit me, I just want to spin off and talk about social media, and I do get your point, Freddie, but I really do want to touch on social media and the cybercrime laws and bills that are passed, and I think it's oppressive. I really do. That has to be looked at, legislation, and they have to review a lot of those laws. I mean, if I just post, Leonard has a big nose, you're like, you're bullying me, and run to the Cybercrime Act, and then I'm charged. How you balance freedom of speech, which I think is a tenet of democracy, and I will die for somebody to have free speech. I'm very serious. The cybercrime laws of Guyana, enacted by the APNU FC or whatever, were created for dictatorship, to control. I have no doubt in my mind about that. And now that maybe Parliament is controlled by the PPP Civic, I think that at some point they need to introduce revisions to those laws that are not so draconian or that will tend to control speech, either on social media or anywhere else. Because, anybody, as it says, you could say something, I think Freddie hair is too grey, Freddie's offended, well, I think you're bullying me about my hair, which I'm entitled to have.
No, but they don't want people for those things.
But you can't. But you can't.
People for hate speech.
Well, no, hate speech and freedom of speech is a very fine line, my friend.
Well, I think there is a very fine line.
No.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line.
The laws of libel, no.
Well,
hate speech and freedom of speech. Hate speech involve
freedom of speech can spill over into hate speech in a click of a finger.
No, you are saying we cannot.
And I'm saying the cybercrime laws as it's currently enacted is dangerous to Guyana and Guyana.
If you say something about me, and I'm of the opinion, I think what Don is talking, I am of the opinion that you, Freddie Kisuno, bullying me, I can report to the police. Yep. Now the police comes and they hold on to you. You know the 72 hours, right? So there's a couple of things that could happen, and that's what you're saying. You could be used, and I think the concerns were raised. But even you, this is a hot seat here. You were accused of Don, you were accused of cyberbullying.
You were accused of cyberbullying.
Yes. I think Captain Jerry Gouveia had to step in. I'm not sure that somebody had to step in and mediate that. But do you?
Who did you bully?
There was. You want to talk about it?
Oh, that's fine. There's a lady that eats and blights a lot of people, and so maybe I have my opinions on her actions and the way perhaps that she secured contracts while as a director on the board of tourism. She secured contracts to the exclusion of others, which I thought was a conflict of interest. And I as an activist, I maybe raise my concerns in maybe a humorous way. So people sometimes try to stifle you when you call them out on things. So It was the Visit Guyana.
Was a complaint made to the police about
Yes,
it?
it was.
And you were called to the police?
I was called and asked, and
Did the matter go anywhere?
oh no, my lawyer advised me the right to remain silent, and I did that.
Oh, and so the matter died right there?
Yeah, but so far.
But you didn't say anything libelous. You said, did you say
I made
anything
a statement
libelous?
and I said that white hair man.
No, I
that was
want
right.
to.
No,
I
no,
want
I'm
to
just saying. I make a statement and say that white hair man who's a columnist. I believe that he goes wrong and asks or solicits bribes. You could go to the police, and in that particular case, somebody who believes that
They're being referred to.
Well, one of the things I don't agree with is,
I mean, it's subjective.
one of the things I believe, if in social media you say libelous things, they resort to the court. But I can't understand why the police comes in. To me, the problem I have with it,
That's why it's an oppressive law.
It cuts out the obligation on the part of the person who feel offended to go to the court.
No.
Rather than they go to the police.
Freddie, the internet
No,
is there, right?
It's the police presence I am concerned about. I am concerned that if I say you're homosexual, you sue, but I could get things for 20 million. I believe in the cybercrime thing. I say you're homosexual, sue me. But this thing about the police coming and arrest you,
But it's a crime.
It's a crime. That's exactly my
I don't agree
point.
with that.
Well, that's exactly. Thank you for agreeing with me.
I'm unhappy with the police part of it.
No. Let me tell you what
Because
happened.
it's law. Police they're law enforcement.
Let me tell you what
the law is
happened
considered
last
weapon.
night.
I know a hospital carried the police to a lady who said things about
This
the
morning
hospital.
I saw it. A lady and maybe her boyfriend got some problem. She took the man picture with his new girlfriend picture and they put it up on a thing called TikTok. And they started saying this man goes around and sleeps with that woman and that woman and things like that. Now, me as an aggrieved party, could I go to the police? Well, the crime law says that I can.
Absolutely.
And that in itself, you had to, because the internet, there was no laws that was governing the internet. The internet is up there. So the guy is living in Guyana, everybody living in Guyana. How do you do that? So the cybercrime law came into effect to that. But here the problem that you have. Me believe that Freddie Kissoon said something about me. You cyberbully me on
Right.
Facebook.
So it's a law.
I make a complaint that the police are obligated or they have to take that report and they come to you. Now they could very well hold you up. Now you could be in there the entire day. So there's a very thin line how you deal with it. So that is what Don is contended. If you're moving ahead,
It can be used to muzzle.
you got to be careful in that you don't have something that is oppressive and could use in a
It
discriminatory.
should only be used for defamation. It cannot be used for...
Well, imagine during election time, is it too hard to imagine a political party in power that an opposition guy says something, I believe you bullied me. So those are the kind of scenarios that could play up that could very well, but
Easily.
But the most dangerous part
Easily.
of it is when you have people with money and they have big business and they may be doing something. They tell the police you like to...
that might have been
you like-
20
because
years
a hospital complained to the police on the same cybercrime and the police went to the lady.
Yeah, but that might have been true 20 years back. Internet, the camera phones have changed dramatically the landscape. You could pick up the phone, you might not get justice on the police. You pick up your phone and you do video and it goes out there.
Boom.
Social media
But
has
this
changed the way
mudwater guy,
that society operates.
can't nobody can they do a forensic thing? This guy says some very, very, very harsh thing that make libel look like child's play.
Who's that?
Something named Mudwater or something.
Well, the critics say you know who he is.
I think there's a court case going on.
There's a court case going on right now.
And he sued critic.
Yeah.
There's something.
Well, we
that's
can talk about it because he is saying he's not the person.
We hold critical later.
We have just like about 2 minutes
Oh,
of watching.
already?
Already?
This is
Wow.
pretty interesting, and
Wow.
I think we got to bring you back
Okay.
sometime. I think you've overtaken Freddie to become the co-host today. But very quickly, you got
Yes.
a couple seconds. Anything you want to say, and then Freddie yourself.
No, I mean, well, thanks for having me, first of all. And you know, our country is on such a precipice. we either fall off or we fly. I mean, all indications are that we fly. But if there's enough burden and weight pushing us downwards, we will not fly. This is, in my opinion, I mean, I love this country. I've had opportunities to migrate to all parts of the world and be legal and everything, and I've refused everyone. I refused the same for my daughter, and she thanks me for it. This is Guyana's last chance, you know. This is our chance. This is it. And I mean, I am a member of the PP Civic, and I will laud praises upon them. I think they are going in the right direction. President Ali, I mean, honestly, I mean, you were around 200 years. You ever seen an energetic president such as this man? I mean, he's there. I asked him, I says, where do you get this energy? He said, boy, the people work got to do. And he goes out there and he gets it done. So, I mean, sorry, I know your time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very, very optimistic about where Guyana is going and the people is going. We have 65% of our population under the age of 35, or probably more by now. But we have to hold it together. There will be barbarians at the gate. There will be people who will come to try and take our things from us. And, you know, we got to hold ahead as Guyanese. Be Guyanese, you know, drill that patriotic spirit in them. Yeah, so Merry Christmas to your viewers. Merry Christmas to you both. Thanks for having me.
Very quickly.
Well, I share his sentiments that I know the man. I've researched this. No president from Dr. Jagan in 1957, who was premier, has spent more time out of the office in the first year than Ali. And I think the reason for that is he's president in a new era, in a completely new era, which calls for that. But I think one of the reasons why he's doing that is because he's faced with a serious crescendo of dilemmas coming from the opposition, in which you use our money to repair a community center, and the minister is stopped from doing her job. I think that is the dilemma that is facing us, that we have to overcome. That our money and the new economy must be given to people and allowed for Guyana to grow. And those who, for ethnic reason or racial reason, want to prevent that, we have to confront that.
Thank you very much. And ask not what the country can do for you, but what you have done for your country, and what you're going to do for your country. JFK. And of course, patriotism, some very good words here that you and me, Freddie and Don, should be paying attention to. I want to say thank you very much to my co-host, Freddie Kisun, as usual. Very lively discussion tonight. And of course, co-host, our guest. I'm thinking co-host.
Right.
He overtook Freddie's role tonight. But our guest tonight, activist Don Singh. It's good to have this kind of discussion among our young people. He's pretty young. And not only that, he knows George Song, and he has been very vocal about it. He may not have to agree with the views, but this is where, this is what our country needs. And as we go forward, we are going to continue to have these kind of conversations. Wherever you are, folks, good evening, good night, stay safe on the roadways. Until we meet again on Friday. Take care.